So pro-social behaviour. What factors influence pro-social behaviour? On the previous slide, we talked about things that stop people from doing pro-social behaviour. These are things that contribute to the bystander effect. And the bystander effect is when people choose not to participate in pro-social behaviour. So what factors promote social behaviour? The first one is social norms. So what's the normal way to behave in this situation? Because we don't want to go against the grain. We don't want to do anything embarrassing. We don't want to go against the norms. Second is the reciprocity principle. And that's like the biblical idea of do unto others as you would have them do unto you. So if you were hurt and you'd want someone to call 000 for you, then you should probably do that for others. There's that reciprocity principle. Last one is social responsibility, which is the idea that we have a responsibility to help those who are dependent or in need. So that often motivates like pro-social behavior, such as giving to charity, helping a sick family member, helping the elderly or the blind cross the road if they were in need, for example. So there's these three kind of social factors that can influence pro-social behaviour: social norms, reciprocity principle, and social responsibility. And moving on next to personal factors. So those were social factors, and these are personal factors. And I think we should just take a moment to appreciate how sad this kitten is. And that's to relate to both empathy and mood, really. So empathy is our first personal factor that influences the likelihood of someone participating in pro-social behaviour. So how much do we empathise with them? And it's actually, some people like theorize that this is actually like not a selfish motivation. Sorry, we get to that at altruism. But like we want to help ease their suffering. So empathy is actually like fairly selfless. Like we want to empathize with them. We want to ease their suffering. We feel bad for them. Like if, for example, we saw like a child that was like crying on the street, like our empathy for them might motivate us to go talk to them. But on the other hand, audience inhibition might make us feel like we can't, because we might think, well, what if these people think I'm a kidnapper? That's terrible. So you can see how there's all these different kind of opposing factors at play. So empathy. And interesting things, people are more likely to help certain people based on their physical appearances. One study found that when people were like intoxicated and they were sick and needed help, people were actually less likely to empathize and less likely to help, because they were like, well, you brought this on yourself. So they felt less likely to help. And then there's also the factors to consider of, well, if they're intoxicated, is it safe? Yes, I feel empathy for them, but is it safe? Did their choices bring this on themselves? All those different factors at play. After empathy, we have mood is our second personal factor. And this is actually another one that's important to be aware of. So our mood influences our likelihood to help. So if we're in a good mood, we're actually more likely to help a person. Whereas if we're in a bad mood, we're probably going to be more focused on our problems. We're not going to care about others, not going to care about the world, and we're going to be more likely to just go on about our day. I'm having a bad enough day. Why should I stop to help someone else? So that's actually very important to be aware of, because that's actually a little bit sad when you think about it. Third one, competence. Can I actually help? So an example of that is if somebody is like drowning, but if I can't swim, then I might not be able to help them in that way. But I could throw a floaty to them or call someone else for help or call an ambulance. But there's the idea of competence. Can I actually help this situation? So if, for example, if I saw two very, very strong people having like a large fight in public, I could call the police or an ambulance to try help make sure like they're both safe. But competence, I actually can't stop the fight. Again, that's not so much pro-social behaviour. That's not a great example, but that's just to illustrate the point that competence does play a role. Can I actually help? If I can't help, then I'm not going to. But it's important to think about what still is in our control to do. Last one, altruism, which is a selfless concern for others. It is usually motivated by a deep concern for people. So that's our most selfless form, like that altruistic behavior of, even though there is a great cost to me, even though there is no benefit to me, I'm going to choose to help you. It's motivated by that deep concern for people. But again, some people speculate, is this truly possible? Or some people kind of subscribe to the idea that when we see an uncomfortable situation, it causes this discomfort in us. And that's what I was referencing to earlier. So some people say we help to alleviate our own discomfort. So really, we're actually not being selfless. We're actually just acting to help ourselves. Do you believe true altruism is possible? Or do you believe we're just acting to alleviate our own discomfort and feel like we're a good person for helping? What do you think? What are some examples of both? Have a think about it. So, pro-social behavior, we can also have antisocial behavior, modeled very well by our very angry panda here. So, antisocial behavior is the opposite of pro-social behavior. It violates social norms and shows a lack of concern for others. So, what contributes to it? First example is groupthink. So, this is the tendency to make decisions to maintain social cohesion rather than putting in the effort to critically analyze the situation. So again, groupthink is another example of just that going with the flow, because I want to maintain group cohesion rather than putting in the effort to analyze the situation and just causing drama. So again, I'm going to go along with the crowd because I just want social cohesion. I don't want to cause any troubles. Again, we also have that diffusion of responsibility, audience inhibition, social influence, bystander effect. We've talked about all those already. Another one is the cost-benefit analysis. So that's the internal process we take where we analyze the pros and cons and kind of come to a potentially either selfish or selfless decision about what works best for me. Well, not particularly selfless because it's a cost-benefit analysis, so it usually is more selfish. It's about whether I undertake antisocial or pro-social behavior just depends on what works best for me. If it works better for me to do something antisocial, then I'm going to do it. If it works better for me to do something pro-social, then I'll do that. Again, there's also nature and nurture, the general aggression model. There's all of these factors that contribute to antisocial behavior and influence how people interact and the choices we make.